Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. What if the person who calls you dramatic is the very reason you feel like you are falling apart? Pause with that question for just a moment. Because here's what I know after decades of studying how the human mind works, how relationships break us down, and how, with grace and with God-given wisdom, we can rebuild ourselves from the inside out. Pressure does not create a person's character, it reveals it. And today, you and I are going to talk about what gets revealed when the storm hits and the mask finally slips. I want you to imagine, just for these next 30 minutes, that you and I are sitting together in a quiet room. There is no noise from the outside world. No one judging you. No one telling you that you are too sensitive, that you overreacted, that you should have known better. This is your sanctuary, and you are safe here. My name is not important. What matters is this. I have sat with hundreds of women just like you, brilliant, compassionate, faithful women who gave everything they had to their marriages, their families, their friendships, and who could not understand why it never felt like enough. Women who were told again and again that the problem was them. If that sounds familiar, I want you to stay with me today, because what you are about to understand may be one about two the most important things you have ever learned about yourself and about the people around you. We are going to talk about manipulation, but not in a clinical, cold, textbook way. We are going to talk about what manipulation does to a woman's soul, to her sense of reality, to her very ability to trust herself. And most importantly, we are going to talk about how stress, real crisis, real pressure is the only reliable mirror that shows you who someone truly is. Let us begin with a truth that took me years of study and many more years of listening to fully understand. Manipulation is not always loud. It is not always a raised voice or a slammed door. Most of the time, and this is what makes it so deeply devastating for women of our generation, manipulation is quiet. It is gentle sounding. It wears the costume of love. It sounds like, I'm only saying this because I love you. It sounds like, you know how you get sometimes, it sounds like, after everything I have done for you, and here is what manipulation does to a woman's nervous system over time. It teaches her to doubt herself before she doubts the person hurting her. Psychologists call this gaslighting. But I want you to understand what it actually feels like from the inside, because the clinical term doesn't capture the grief of it. It feels like waking up every morning slightly unsure of your own memory. It feels like editing your sentences before you speak just to avoid the storm. It feels like walking on a floor that used to be solid and now creaks with every step. And the cruelest part, the woman experiencing this almost never identifies it as abuse because she is too busy trying to be better. A manipulator doesn't break you all at once. They do it slowly, one small doubt at a time, until you forget the woman you used to be. I want you to hear that again, and I want you to let it land somewhere deep, because manipulation, real sustained manipulation, always runs in a cycle. There is tension, then there is an incident, then there is reconciliation, what researchers call the honeymoon phase, and then the cycle begins again. Each cycle makes you love them a little more desperately and trust yourself a little bit less. Now, we come to the heart of what I want you to understand today. There is a concept in psychology that I think of as the stress revelation principle. And it goes like this: when life becomes genuinely difficult, when there is a real crisis, a real emergency, a real storm, we stop performing, all of us. We revert to who we actually are. For people of good character, people with genuine love and genuine integrity, this means you will see them rise. You will see them become steadier, more generous, more tender. You have probably known people like this. In a crisis, they show up. They hold your hand. They do not make your pain about themselves. But for a manipulator, and this is the part I need you to really hear, high stress does something very different. High stress removes the performance, and what is underneath is not what they showed you on the best days. What is underneath is the truth they have been protecting from you and from themselves. Let me give you some real patterns, and as I describe these, I want you to think gently, not with judgment, but with clarity about the people in your own life. When things go genuinely wrong, a person of real love turns toward you. A manipulator turns your pain into a problem they have to manage, or worse, a problem you have caused for them. You have just received difficult medical news, or your mother has passed, or you have lost your job. And in the first moments of your genuine vulnerability, the moments when a loving partner holds you, a manipulator pivots. Suddenly, you find yourself comforting them about how hard this is for them. Suddenly, you are apologizing for needing too much. Suddenly, the crisis that happened to you has somehow become a crisis that is being done to them. This is not a personality quirk. This is not their love language being different from yours. This is the absence of genuine empathy, and stress stripped away the performance of it. There is a particular kind of devastation that comes from sharing your deepest fears with someone and then having those fears used against you in a later argument. You told him about your childhood, about the abandonment, about the shame. You trusted him with that. And now, when you need reassurance, when you need grace, he reminds you of your patterns. He references your history. He uses your own healing journey as evidence that you cannot be trusted. In the language of psychology, this is called coercive control. And under the pressure of a real crisis, the guard comes down and the manipulation becomes unmasked and undeniable. When life is genuinely hard, people of good character become a harbor. They regulate their own nervous system so that yours can find rest. A manipulator does the opposite. They escalate. They introduce new grievances. They start arguments in moments that require stillness. They manufacture chaos as a way of redirecting your attention away from what you need and back toward managing them. And again, this is not conscious strategy in every case. Many manipulators are not sitting somewhere in calculation. Some of them are simply people who have never learned to tolerate another person's pain without making it mean something about them. But intent does not change impact. And your nervous system does not care whether the storm was deliberate or not. You still get wet. You cannot heal in the same environment that broke you. And you cannot see clearly from inside the storm someone else keeps creating. I know what some of you might be thinking right now. If it was so harmful, why did I stay? Why do so many women stay? And I want to answer that question with all the care and all the dignity it deserves, because it is the question that women torture themselves with, the question that shame whispers at 3 a.m, why didn't I leave sooner? Here is the truth that psychology gives us, that neuroscience confirms, and that the wisdom of lived experience absolutely validates. You did not stay because you were weak. You stayed because you were bonded. There is a biological process not a character flaw, a biological process called trauma bonding. It occurs when cycles of threat and relief, pain and tenderness, create a neurochemical attachment that is extraordinarily difficult to break. The same brain chemistry that bonds a mother to her child, that chemistry is hijacked by these cycles of manipulation. You are not foolish. You are human. And your capacity for love, the very thing they turned against you, is one of the most beautiful things about you. You also stayed because of something else, something we don't talk about enough. You stayed because you believed people could change, because you are a woman of faith, of hope, of extraordinary grace, and the world needs more of that, not less. The wisdom you are gathering now is not about becoming harder. It is about becoming wiser. It is about learning to channel your extraordinary love toward people who are actually capable of receiving it. Because here is what no one tells you when you are in the middle of it. You cannot love someone into wholeness if they are not willing to do the work. You can be the most patient, the most forgiving, the most grace-filled woman on this earth. And it will not be enough to heal someone who does not want to be healed. You can be a lighthouse, steady, luminous, full of grace, without being responsible for every ship that sails past. Your light is yours to keep. So what do you do now? Whether you are still in a difficult relationship, or you left years ago and are still healing from the aftershocks, the path back to yourself begins in the same place. It begins with this trusting your own perception again. One of the deepest wounds that long-term manipulation leaves is this: you stop trusting what you know. You second guess your instincts. You dismiss your feelings before anyone else has to. You do their work for them. So the first act of healing, the first real act of reclaiming yourself, is to begin the practice of listening to yourself again. I call this rebuilding your inner sanctuary. Your inner sanctuary is the quiet place inside yourself that knows. It knew something was wrong long before your mind was ready to accept it. It was the pit in your stomach before difficult evenings. It was the way your body tensed when you heard the door open. It was the relief, the deep, exhausted relief. When he was away, your body kept the score, and your body was telling you the truth. Step one, begin to document your own experience. Not for anyone else, not for a court, not for a therapist, not for your children, for you. Because writing down what happened in your own words is how you begin to give reality its proper weight again. Step two, find at least one person, one trusted, grounded, wise person who will simply listen without an agenda. Not someone who will tell you what to do, just someone who will say, I hear you, I believe you. Step three, start rebuilding your boundaries, not as walls, but as a definition of yourself. Boundaries are not about keeping people out. They are about knowing where you end and another person begins. A boundary is not, I will never love again. A boundary is, I will not accept behavior that requires me to shrink myself. A boundary is, I will not explain my healing to someone who is committed to misunderstanding it. Step four, and perhaps the most important, give yourself the extraordinary grace of time. Healing from long-term emotional manipulation is not linear. There will be days when you feel strong and clear and free. And there will be days when a song or a smell or a particular quality of afternoon light pulls you back, and you will grieve all over again. That is not weakness. That is how deep the love was, and love that deep deserves to be mourned. Healing is not a destination you arrive at. It is a direction you choose every single morning, even when your hands are shaking and your heart is still sore. Now, let us talk practically, because wisdom must be lived, not just understood. I want to give you what I call the 3-question test. These are not for judging others. They're for protecting yourself. Questions to return to whenever you feel confused, whenever your head and your heart in conflict. When things went genuinely wrong, who was there? Not who texted. Not who said the right words 3 days later. Who physically and emotionally showed up for you in the middle of the worst moment. Who sat with your pain without making it about themselves. The answer to that question is one of the clearest portraits of character you will ever see. How does this person treat others when they are inconvenienced? Watch how someone treats a server who brings the wrong order. Watch how someone speaks about their ex. Watch how someone talks about a colleague who received the promotion they wanted. A person's character is not revealed by how they treat you when they want something from you. It is revealed by how they treat people who can do nothing for them. After a conflict, does the relationship grow or does it shrink? Healthy conflict in a healthy relationship leads to deeper understanding. You fight, yes, but afterward there is more trust, more closeness, more clarity. In a manipulative relationship, conflict leads to smaller and smaller versions of yourself. After every disagreement, you feel more careful, more guarded, more uncertain of your right to your own feelings. You start to monitor yourself. You learn what topics to avoid. You develop a mental map of all the landmines in the relationship, and you spend your energy navigating that map instead of living your life. That shrinking, that careful, exhausting, self-erasing shrinking is not love. Love does not make you smaller. Love, real love, makes you more fully and joyfully yourself. I want to speak now to a specific woman. Maybe that woman is you. Maybe she is someone you love. She is still in it. She has not left, and she may not be ready to leave. And that is not a failure. That is where she is, and where she is deserves to be honored, not condemned. If you are that woman, I want you to hear this directly. You are not crazy. Your memory is not faulty.